You know, that it was the one they all wanted to have a copy and show their friends at night. Like, that was the reaction. This is a great tape. We love looking at it. Everyone just thinks it's the greatest. No, the Canadian Space Agency has been very cooperative. That's what I'd like to say. The Canadian Space Agency has been cooperative. I communicated with Washington headquarters and received an answer. And we've been receiving answers from JPL in California. Everyone's talking to us. No one's threatening us. And all the video has been totally available the whole time. So I don't hold that NASA is going out of their way. I think they make it difficult like anybody. When I used to hide Easter eggs for my niece and nephew, you don't make it too easy. My dog doesn't make it easy to find the bones he buried. But it's not easy to do. This is very hard. I want to emphasize that even for me, this has been a very hard but fun thing to do. And I think the preponderance, I think you have to do what I did. You have to record every moment of every flight over a period of years if you're looking to substantiate something of this magnitude and importance. I took what Professor Weinberg of Simon Fraser University said very seriously. If you really want to do this, duplicate it. Get it in every lighting condition. Get it under every circumstance. Get it in every circumstance you can. And the one that made me happiest, funny enough, was almost the last flights I recorded, because I got it in black and white. There was a CCD camera put on one of the flights, and I thought that's the charge coupling device, which is an electronic way, rather than the old tubes, these big tubes that are slower on their scans. So as soon as the faster scanning and tube CCD was on the black and white, I challenged myself again. You should be able to find them, and I did. So I've got them in black and white, but I've got them under, and I know which camera. I now know where to look for them. I know what events. When in STS-80, when the door wouldn't open, you know, they had the spacewalk scheduled, and the door wouldn't open. I remember watching that and seeing all of this third phenomena, this second space phenomena, but the third phenomena, all around the door. And they were moving the door and trying to get it open. And I'd never seen this phenomena do that before. And then a flight or two later, the astronauts were commenting right on the feed that there was something had come through the door. They were seeing these flashing colored lights.
What's that flash? That light flashing off of H-15 there. I thought it was me. What? I just thought of it in my imagination. Yeah, I saw it too, so it's not. There was two of them. There's another one. What are they? There's sort of lights flickering in here. Maybe they're taking pictures. What is this? There's this thing passing in front of us. What are the lights? Which one? Oh, no, I was guessing that one for a second, but I had that one for the whole time. Yeah, I was looking at that one too.
Now, the spherical phenomena we've documented and is very solid. Isn't the type that would go in there, float around, and them say it's going really fast, we can't see it, and it's all these popping colored lights. That was the first time I got some kind of a feel that the astronauts have seen from phenomena 3, the second space phenomena. It's something that should be this challenging. I don't know why most people think something this different is just going to be nuts and bolts, 30 feet across, nice big friendly gray aliens come out, recognize themselves in all the ads that have been appearing in car companies, turn on the TV and watch the new Roswell series. visit the X-Files. You know what I'm saying is that this phenomena is not what I expected to find, this third phenomena. But they seem, I believe they use the same operating principle, because some of the spherical second phenomena, which I still emphasize is our main documentation, can move away at rapid speeds, as the video shows you.
Do you believe the two phenomena are connected?
Yes, somehow. I think, well, they're very aware of each other. Somebody suggested to me, what if they're the same phenomena? But I've studied them extensively, and the spherical phenomena has different characteristics to it. Kind of a, let's just put it at that, leave it at that. They're not in color. This is a totally different phenomena. This one never goes at real speed. It's as if something comes up to your nose and in 1/30th of a second has a tour, like an iceberg or something, or you know, a glacier, and then leaves
Without us even
aware of it. And if it chooses, for whatever reason, to look at something, it tends to slow down. And that's why I believe it appears when there's a $100 million satellite disrupting the air. It appears when the Hubble Space Telescope is being repaired. It appears whenever something is happening. It's an amazing phenomena, and what I like about it is these aren't ice crystals. There's nobody in science in Canada that I've ever met, and David Sarita, my partner in terms of the research end, not a partner, and let's just say he's as interested as I am, and he volunteered to take on that role. Nobody said to him that what this is. Nobody suggested anything except that it must be what it is, but they don't know where to go with it. They don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to react. It's easier if you can sort of argue that may or may not be something. But once you just look at it, it stuns you.
In December 1997, in the Brazilian capital of Brasilia, representatives from over 50 nations took part in a major international UFO congress. Among them was Alexander Ballantyne, a former Soviet cosmonaut who spent 6 months aboard the Mir space station. In his lecture, Ballantyne conceded that he and many other cosmonauts had seen UFOs. "We cosmonauts had a golden rule," he said. "If you see something strange, keep watching it, because you may never see something like it again." Later, Ballantyne shook the assembled audience when he claimed that future anomalous images observed and/or recorded in space would be shared between the Russian Space Agency, NASA, and a special forum of UFO researchers. This was an unprecedented announcement, delivered from prepared notes that would have to have been sanctioned by the Russian government, not least because Ballantyne was driven to and from the Russian embassy in Brasilia each day in a diplomatic limousine. Over breakfast, and with UFO researcher Boris Choronov acting as interpreter, Ballantyne assured Graham Birdsall that some UFOs reportedly seen by both American astronauts and Russian cosmonauts were very real. But when Birdsall ventured to suggest that some anomalous things seen in space might be secret Star Wars devices, Ballantyne said, "Of course, we accept this, but some of the things seen have nothing to do with these." Since that announcement, other former Mir cosmonauts have come forward to speak about their UFO encounters.
There was a huge sphere. I think it appeared when we were over Newfoundland. The sea was in the background. It was shining, sparkling, of absolutely even shape. It shone like the balls that hang on trees at Christmas, greenish in color and all shimmering. It was impossible to take your eyes off it.
And if further proof were ever needed that the Russian Space Agency meant what it said, then this sequence, captured by Russian state television from within Mir mission control, can only be described as proof positive. Note how the camera pans around the control room before settling on the main viewing screen. Was the subject of their attention these anomalous objects, seen in close proximity to the Mir space station? Intriguingly, here's the exact same sequence, only this time recorded by Martin Stubbs from NASA's Downlink. Compare the two. These objects are patently of interest to those watching in Russia, so might the same be true of their counterparts at NASA?
Columbia, Houston, we're looking at our payload bay camera, and it looks like a lot of moonlight glinting off the ocean, a whole sparkling bed of diamonds out there. Is that a real picture, or are we just getting some video fuzz?
Houston, we're recording that. That's some of the ice crystals that we were dumping out earlier, and yeah, it's a beautiful picture.
That's a great combination of the moonlight and the ice and the clouds.
Yeah, it's a combination of moonlight making those ice crystals sparkle, and maybe as well as some of the sun starting to come up on the horizon.
Well, thanks for the picture.
The Mir space station is now visible on the far left-hand side of the screen, about an inch from the bottom of this particular picture. And there were also a number of shooting stars in that view. The camera has now moved to a point Okay, the Mir space station is the small flashing light in the center, about an inch from the left-hand side of the screen. It's slowly...
Now the hell on the camera.
It is slowly moving closer to the left-hand side and is has a very light flashing to it.
We think on the middle of the screen, way to the left-hand side.
You got an articulation point mark. Can you look out there? I'm not sure what you're talking about. Never mind. Are we missing something? I don't see anything. Yeah, we think the camera filter came off, Mark. It's about your 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock going away. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Okay?
Discovery, we're sending you an order to stay vector.
see the satellite now. It's like a bright spot at the end of the tether, and on the other end, the low end, there's also a relatively bright spot, which is maybe an accumulation of the tether. And we are downlinking camera Delta now.
Okay, we copied and understand as you're viewing it on the monitor, the satellite is at the top of the tether.
That's correct.
Columbia.
Camera Bravo. We had the camera Bravo constantly on the tether. Unfortunately, we don't see the tip of the boom, but in a few seconds you'll see the tether break. And this one, of course, was not a 10 lead, it just recorded. It could not be bumped either, so it will record steadily the whole break and coil back of the tether.
Copy, Claude.
We go.
Again, this is a view of the satellite.
Well, if it had to break, it did it in the right place.
So, the left-hand corner there, straight as an arrow. So it seems from here.
Yes, sir, we have it. Great picture.
It came and went pretty quick, but that was about as much as we have of it.
Columbia and the satellite now 77 nautical miles apart. Again, that call reporting that the crew can see the tether and see the satellite, that it's beautiful. This view showing the satellite. Again, just moving into sunrise. 81 nautical miles now from Columbia.
Guys getting the image?
Franklin, we see a long line, a couple of star-like things, and a lot of things swimming in the foreground. Can you describe what you're seeing?
Well, the long line is a tether, and there's a little bit of debris that kind of flies with us, and it's illuminated by the sun at such low angle. So there's a lot of stray light, and it's getting washed out quickly, but Claude is trying to do a quick, good job here adjusting the cameras.
Copy that.
Again, that description by the crew, this is the tether in the satellite with approximately 12 miles of tether still attached to it. Columbia and the satellite now just passing over the west coast of northern Africa. The two spacecraft now 90 nautical miles apart. Controllers for the satellite did have communications with it during the close pass between Columbia and the satellite.
Columbia, Houston, that's a much better view, a lot more contrast visible. And how wide does that tether appear to be? It seems to resemble a much wider strand than we'd expect. Can you describe which way the satellite is visible on that strand?
Satellite now 100 nautical miles.
Charlie, completely unzoomed, and you see the full extent of the tether. I tried to adjust the focus, but I can't get better than that.
Okay, Claude. Thank you.
I'm going to zoom in now.
It should mirror exactly what she's doing on the inside.
Okay. Right now, the handle is installed with the tab in the unlocked position. I'm going to rotate the tab to the locked position now if you're ready.
We're ready.
Okay, we are fully seated in the locked position.
Okay, Tammy, we didn't see any motion on the outside. If you would, go ahead and move it back to the unlocked.
Okay, I'm pulling back to the unlocked, and again, it's only going about 3/4 of the way, will not lie flat, and will not seat, as I mentioned earlier.
And Tammy, if you could, simultaneous with trying to put it in the unlocked position, if you would move the handle a little bit back and forth.
Do that. Okay, that's in work now, Bill.
Okay, and we can see the handle moving on the outside.
Okay, and but any indication that the lock is being actuated?
No, we can't see any indication of that, and it just may be a bad angle and too dark.
Amidst the 2,500 hours of NASA footage recorded by Martin Stubbs, we have seen countless examples of the spheres, the first space phenomenon. But until now, few have ever come across, least of all seen described, what has been labelled the second space phenomenon. Those that have been left speechless, including eminent scientists, astrophysicists and, as we have learned, highly placed figures within the Canadian Space Agency. Someone who was prepared to comment publicly after being shown less than 5 minutes of the footage was Guido Negro, director of the SETI radio telescope at Golden Grave Observatory in Western Australia. What, we asked, did he make of it all?
Well, I was very well impressed, and not only myself, also other people that were looking at. And because this time we are not talking about footage taken off from some home movie camera, but someone that actually was flying a space shuttle. So automatically that gave us the fact that the picture must have been real, genuine. Well, I was very well impressed. And maybe this will prove that there is something else that we are not aware of, at least officially. That if the footage that we saw came to be true and really are showing an alien spacecraft or something like that, I say that if there is a cover-up, the people who are doing this cover-up are an enemy of entire Earth race, because we are not children and we must know we must know the truth. It doesn't matter if there are people that are they don't know how to handle the truth. Well, the majority of us will, and if there is a cover-up, I think it's time that the cover-up goes.
Guido could have easily dismissed this sampling as ice crystals at best, or errant nonsense at worst. The fact that he chose to do neither is symbolic perhaps of the potential importance both he and a great many others attach to the footage. The onus surely now rests with people like Guido and others elsewhere in the scientific community to determine whether or not the second space phenomena is a genuine phenomenon. And were that proven to be the case, two burning questions would need to be addressed. Is it extraterrestrial? And is it intelligent? If the answer to either is deemed yes, we could have arrived at an historic moment. For Martin Stubbs, it would be the vindication of what he and millions like him have always maintained, that we are not alone in the universe. His, after all, was a chance discovery, a fleeting glimpse of something that sped across his television monitor that most would fail to notice. He focused on that. He looked for more of the same, under different conditions, and found them in abundance. But found what exactly? Some of the greatest scientific discoveries known to man have often been born from chance events. But is it remotely conceivable that one of the greatest discoveries of all time could have been similarly unearthed by a humble cable TV manager operating out of a small community station in Vancouver? History will surely go on to determine the truth, provided, that is, others within the scientific community are equally prepared to explore the limitless possibilities now before them. But who among them will be courageous enough, ambitious enough, to step forward and examine this evidence? There will be many who will choose to ignore it, blinded by self-imposed scientific dogma and bland indifference towards all who champion the extraterrestrial hypotheses. But those that do express an interest may well find themselves embarking upon one of the greatest scientific treks of all time.
I can't explain it because I don't really think that's my job right now. I'm merely a person who's gathering grains of salt together and putting them in front of you. It's as if you have a carpet and you have a handful of salt and you throw the salt on the carpet, you look and you don't think there's any salt there. But when you gather it up, put it back in your hand, you have something.